So, um, yeah. If you can't hear it in my voice, then you probably can see it by the video. I am in mourning. I am currently grieving, along with the rest of my fellow Mighty Morphin Power Ranger fans. This video has taken several takes because I'm having a hard time filming this without crying. But I'd rather be honest with you guys about my tears and about how I feel than to try and put on a facade. I've always been more honest and open, for better or for worse, and I feel like it serves me a bit greater purpose in the long run. Now, when I tell you I'm a Mighty Morphin Power Ranger fan, please don't think that I'm doing this for clout. If you're new to the channel, maybe that's what you thought. If you are a friend of mine, if you followed me for years, if you followed me on Twitter, if you followed me on my very Sailor Moon heavy Moon Sisters website, you probably figured out I'm a Power Ranger fan. And a Super Sentai fan. And for those of you who maybe are new to the fandom, there would be no Power Rangers without Super Sentai. Super Sentai started first in Japan, and then Saban made his own Americanized version called Power Rangers, and here we are. I've been following since, like, the beginning. I lived in the Chicagoland market. So in my area, we were one of two markets outside of the Hawaii market that got 3 different versions of a Super Sentai program called Codename. In Hawaii, they got Codename in big chunks, both subbed and hilariously dubbed. In my area, we got some of the subs, some of the dub, and then on USA's Night Flight block of programming, episodes would be cut to hell in, like, these weird little comedy segments, dubbed piss poorly. If you have the Verve app, you can watch the Night Flight version of Codename, I believe. But then right after I found out about Super Sentai, the Fox Kids added Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. My market got it a week up ahead of everybody else, but we all got it in 1993. Actually, fun fact, Power Rangers almost got me expelled from kindergarten. I had this teacher who already hated my guts because I loved MC Hammer and I would recite the lyrics to Too Legit to Quit, and I carried the cassette tape with me everywhere. When she found out I was into Power Rangers, even though I never ever imitated any of the moves, she threatened to expel me because she thought I was going to be a thug. She was afraid of me. A fucking 5-year-old. That's real fucking awesome, right? The only reason why I didn't get expelled was because my mom, who's also into Super Sentai and Power Rangers, she made a tape of episodes and clips that were specifically Billy-centric. And when she showed the PTA council that Billy was all about doing your homework and studying, and the other Power Rangers were all about doing well in school, they stopped threatening expulsion and they left me alone. Really hilarious that I got straight A's and they still wanted to expel me, but anywho, neither here nor there. When Tommy debuted, I wasn't sure what to think at first. There's an evil Green Ranger on the screen and he's got a baby mullet. But once that mullet started to grow out into, like, proper lawn hair, I gotta tell you the truth. And I even told my husband the truth. I had a crush on him. I had a really big crush on him. Maybe you couldn't tell. But, like, 7-year-old Corey? 7-year-old little Codename Sailor Earth? Yeah, I was all about Tommy. When we moved away because of my dad's job, we left my home in the Chicagoland area. We went to Virginia Beach for a year. It was really hard. I didn't make friends. I was an outsider. And that really made me glom onto Tommy even more, who was also the new kid in school, the outsider. Nobody trusts him. Everybody's really uneasy with him. So having a Power Ranger represent what I was going through, and in my favorite color and in my favorite shade of green. That meant a lot to me. And Tommy meant a lot to a lot of kids at home. We learn in the first season, towards the end, when he and Kimberly are finally getting together, Tommy's a foster boy. Tommy doesn't have a mommy or a daddy. Tommy got bounced around from home to home, and it isn't that he was being abused, but he was neglected. He wasn't being cared for either. When they would have, in the later seasons, all the parents come to Angel Grove High for their kids, like Aisha's foster parents would show up, and everybody's adoptive or step or real parents would show up. Tommy was always by himself. Tommy was alone. We don't find out until Zia is starting that he's got a long-lost older brother and grandfather looking for him because they thought he was dead. And what was cool about Tommy was, instead of being a bad boy like all the other foster kids and children of divorce that we saw in the 90s, no, Tommy was a good boy. And Tommy tried really hard in school. And when Tommy was struggling, the adults failed him. Mrs. Appleby would take his communicator. Mrs. Appleby would say, "Oh, it's all your fault because you won't show up earlier." The principal would heckle him. So when the adults failed, it was his teenage friends that stepped in. Billy made him a special watch, and they got him a planner, and they helped him study. And it must have worked, because long-term storytelling time, by the time we get to Power Rangers Dino Thunder, he's no longer a struggling boy. He's Dr. Oliver. He's a high school teacher and scientist with his own makeshift command center in his basement. Like, wow. Like, you go from barely getting yourself through school, trying not to repeat a grade, to teaching kids while also inventing dinosaur offspring. It was a crazy season. But it gave a lot of people that I grew up that grew up with Power Rangers hope. People who have become my friends in adulthood told me that in childhood, this was their Ranger. He showed them you don't have to just wallow in wherever you're wallowing at the moment. Hard work and determination, and you can bring that power out within you. You can get yourself out of the situation. You can get yourself through school. You can make something of yourself. And more importantly, if you believe in yourself, you can pretty much do anything you want to, including being a superhero. I think that's why how this story ends with Jason David Frank hurts so bad. I mean, we just lost Kevin Conroy, the voice of Batman in Batman the Animated Series, which quite frequently aired alongside Mighty Morphin Power Rangers on the Fox Kids network. These were our two children's dramas. Kevin Conroy, we lost him to cancer. And he was sick for a really, really, really long time. It's horrible that we lost him so young, and we lost him where everybody loved him. This was a well-loved person. He was a good person. But, with what he had, you want to prevent it, but when it happens, what the cause was. Why this happened, and it doesn't make it less horrible, but you can process what happened. When we lost the very sweet gentleman, I got to meet him a couple of times, who voiced Lord Zed and Wizardmon in Digimon. He had all kinds of medical problems, and he was advanced in age. And it was horrible losing him because he had the purest soul. But we knew why he was passing away. And we didn't have to accept it, but at least it was an explanation you could understand. And none of us can really understand what the hell happened here. I mean, if you go to TMZ, the puzzle pieces fit together mighty quick. I don't want to repeat what I read, because I know you guys will look it up for yourselves. But basically, a lot of bad stuff was coming out. And before anybody had a chance to figure out what was real and what was not real, his story ended by his own hand. I don't want to use the word. I'm just gonna do the cute thing that everybody's into right now. Here you go. There's the number to the hotline. You know what this is about. For fuck's sake, don't do it. For fuck's sake, stay alive. But there you go. There you go. That's as far as I'm gonna acknowledge what happened, because like there's a lot of stuff still coming out faster than his family can process it, faster than the other Power Ranger actors who became his real life friends can process it, and the less I go into it, the easier I'm going to sleep tonight. You'll find it out on TMZ. That's all I'm going to say about it. But knowing how this story ends, it's not making sense. You have a person who, outside of his Power Ranger role, was really positive and helped a lot of people out of the darkness. An awful lot. He helped a lot of people find their own inner strength, their inner Power Ranger, if you will. You know, I actually heard him at a convention openly tell people, you do not have to engage in self-harm, ever. It doesn't get you anywhere. Find a friend, reach out, talk to somebody. Like, he helped a lot of people get out of depression, get therapy, and get help. And a lot of people are alive because he was able to reach out in time. Losing him this way, it's not registering, it's not making sense. So a lot of us are really hurting. This is a deep hurt, and I didn't know how to go about dealing with this, so I figured, hey, maybe taking a trip down memory lane might not be so bad. So that's really the only reason why I'm doing this video, is just to get around to what I couldn't before. I survived a flood in 1999, and I lost half of my shit. It felt like surviving a flood and a divorce at the same time. I just kind of figured, if that's what a divorce feels like, I hope I never, ever, ever put anybody through it. This was my original collection, and the only ones that have survived are these 3 dolls back here. But as you can see, I used to have the Giant Ninjor, I had the Phantom Ranger from Power Rangers Turbo, I had a couple of Turbo Rangers, a couple of Zeo, but it was mostly Mighty Morphin. I had the whole movie set from McDonald's. I had the erasers, but I never used them as erasers. I used them as additional figures. I even had Skull. Well, by the way, he is so cool at Comic-Con. He's like one of my favorite people. Bulk and Skull, I love them. I had the giant Lord Zed plush. My Goldar eraser, I used him as a figure. His wing kept popping off, just like on the TV show when Lord Zed got mad at him. So I kept trying to glue his wing back on. Never worked. I had a couple of the larger Rangers. Some of the Micro Machine ones, and like the little pseudo Polly Pocket ones, I had some of them. I lost them all many years ago. How obsessed was I? Well, I put them in a dollhouse. That's how obsessed I was. I mean, granted, I had this dollhouse longer than my Power Ranger collection, but once I started really getting into Power Rangers, I let them use this as my house, so I had like a Power Ranger family. Oh, I still have my Nintendo 64, by the way, and it still works. Yeah, this is about the most 90s picture I have. Oh my god. So these 3 dolls are really special. They're part of my Holy Grail, along with my Super Sailor Chibi Moon doll and my Addie doll. I got Tommy first. Got him Christmas of 1994. My mom went all the way through the state of New Jersey, because by this point we had moved to New Jersey. And she went all the way through the entire state looking for him. Found the last one in existence, and she had to fight a couple of moms for him to put him on layaway. And when I got him on Christmas morning, she told me I was to protect him for the rest of my life. So Tommy has a State Farm policy, and that's not a joke. I promised my mom. Kimberly I got for Easter the following year, and the checkout lady at Toys R Us tried to steal her after ringing her up. So I had to fight her. I was 8 years old at the time. I had to fight her. And I was recovering from a concussion at the time, so that was not fun. But she's here, so I won. And then little Tommy I got at the Goodwill. Originally, this was through the JCPenney catalog. He originally came with a parachute and the Ninjetti outfit, but I got him at the Goodwill just plain, so I took him home and I said, hey, Tommy and Kimberly have a son. And then Kimberly was replaced with Kat. And ironically, Tommy and Kat have a son. We see him in Power Rangers Zeo, and then they talked about him these last couple of new seasons of Power Rangers being in school. So I foretold the future. Tommy and Kat have a son, and one day he'll be a Power Ranger, because that's what we saw in the Zeo Christmas special, and that's what they're setting up for in the Netflix Power Rangers. So, fun fact on that one. Tommy's vest actually does come off. It's on Velcro. And in case you're curious, he's just pale white underneath. He used to have, like, the cool Diet Ranger little square squiggle that was right there. Unfortunately, after a couple of trips through the washing machine, that's gone. These used to be like bright metallics on both of them. Time wears through metallic fabric like crazy. So he looks dirty, but he's actually clean. Like, I don't know how many times he's been through the wash. Oh, this red string, when I was surviving the flood, I actually tied him to myself to make sure I wouldn't lose him, and he stayed dry. So that's why Tommy is still here. Fun fact. So yeah, there's... And you can tell they were still doing, like, the regular Mighty Morphin Diamonds on this one. He doesn't have that in the show. Maybe you guessed. I don't know. They always put the symbols on their outfits for everything Power Rangers and Jewel Ranger related. Kimberly used to be a brighter pink, but she's been everywhere Tommy is. So, of course, you know, time has gotten to her medallion too. As it gets to all of us eventually, I bet. My brother repurchased my white Ninja Ranger with original mail-in rebate stickers. He comes with a mace. That was fun. He comes with this little grappling hook thing. You put it in his hand, and then there's like a lever in the back, and his hand twirls. I used to laugh about that like crazy. Yeah, these came out after the movie, along with all the new villains. It was a mixture of stuff from the movie and stuff from the last season of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Yeah, see, there's like a diagram of how it works. His weapon always used to fly off when I was a kid. And my husband and brother got me a replica a couple years ago of the Green Ranger figure I lost. If you press the button, his head changes, but you can't have the shield on when you do that because it will pop apart. He came with a temporary tattoo. My mom said I couldn't use it because I'm allergic to the dyes in it. But it's okay, because like when I was a kid, I used to take temporary tattoos, and I would put them onto like little plastic containers and such before I got into stickers. And I would just like decorate my containers that way. And then, not too long ago, I got a Retromorphing Ninjor. He's not as tall as the Ninjor I lost, but pretty much transforms in the same way. Eventually I'll do a decarding because this plastic will adhere to the figure at some point and destroy it, and I don't want that to happen. Oh yeah, he comes with a sticker. So eventually I will do an unboxing video with these and decard them so that the packaging doesn't destroy the action figure, because I've already seen that happen at flea markets. Just right now I'm not in the right headspace. So we'll move on to the books. I got my hands on all these little chapter books when I was growing up. In the center, they would put pictures from the episodes on the inside, and sometimes mix in other pictures too. This one was to the Lord Zed debut episode, which was cool because when this first aired, it aired in prime time, in the middle of the night. So that was like, whoa, this is so grown up. I'm watching grown up Power Rangers. That's how I took it at 7. Yeah, I love Power Rangers so much. I even got the board book with the questionable art. I used to have rubber stamps that matched this board book too. Good God almighty, the cheapness of the artwork. Maybe I'll do a reading with these books. Yeah, I think I'll do that eventually. Power Rangers and wrestling and Sailor Moon, when I was growing up, it got me through a lot of bad stuff. When I was being bullied in the 2nd grade when I was in New Jersey, one of the reasons I got bullied was all the other kids were into VR Troopers, thinking that VR Troopers were going to stand the test of time. I was just like, you boobs. It's all about Power Rangers. So I got my butt kicked for being a Power Ranger fan. And I earned 4 concussions in less than 6 months from bullying. And Power Rangers got me through that. They had a lot of episodes dealing with bullying and dealing with, you know, being the better person. And that really helped me. Wrestling helped me even more. ECW helped me get through the dark stuff too. But Power Rangers really encouraged me to not stoop to the level of the people who were coming after me. And again, seeing that Tommy was also an outsider, he was also the new kid, and he got treated kind of similarly, it helped me get through things. It helped me feel like, you know what, I don't have to do this alone. Had some of the activity books growing up. I didn't always color in. I tried to color in the lines. I liked the puzzles more than anything else. Like, I remember trying really hard to color in the lines, but when you're recovering from a concussion, it is really hard to do that, boys and girls. I tried doing some things in pencil. I don't know why, I just really liked my pencils for some reason. I don't even remember why. They were basic number 2 pencils. I still love the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie. And that is from Kaku Ranger. That is from the 3rd season of Power Rangers. This did not happen in the movie. Although my little brother would have lost his shit if he saw that in the movie, because he loves Kaku Ranger. Mighty Morphin Alien Rangers? No. But Kaku Ranger? Yes. Kaku Ranger and Mega Ranger are his favorites. I'm getting into Dawn Brothers. That's another story. This is my scrapbook. It's basically behind the scenes from the movie, with a lot of really rare photos. I wonder if I should scan this. I remember hearing about the movie a year before it came out, and it did not disappoint. I've seen this movie thousands of times. And I still watch it even though I'm in my 30s. Like, I still love this movie. I did get to have 2 interactions with Jason David Frank. One, I drew this cartoon. You can probably see it on the screen now. And a lot of people don't know, he actually ran his own fan page on Facebook. I made him laugh. So that was really cool that I got to make him laugh. And then I did bump into him at Comic-Con, and he was just so polite, and I didn't even know he was supposed to be there. I didn't have enough money to go to the Jason David Frank table that day. But, like, I bumped into him. There was a rush of gentlemen dressed as Sailor Uranus and as the Pink Ranger, and I got separated from my group, and he bumped into me completely by random, and he was like, oh, whoops, hey, I'm sorry, are you okay? And I turned around, and I was like, oh my God, no way. And, like, I got to shake his hand, and he was really sweet. And my husband got to shake his hand. He was a fan, too. And, like, that was actually something my husband and I did bond over, was that he was our favorite Power Ranger when we were growing up. With my husband, Whereas I'm out in the open with my fandom for Power Rangers, he got pressured and bullied into hiding his love of Power Rangers. So until that day at the Comic-Con, I didn't even know that John liked Tommy as much as I liked Tommy, though for different reasons, of course. Um, 'Cause like my husband was bullied. A lot of people were like, "Oh, you're getting to be a certain age. You shouldn't like Power Rangers. You shouldn't be into spandex." And a lot of the adults that were in his life when he was a very little boy, they used a lot of gay slurs in regards to Power Rangers because they wore spandex, which is really weird. I never saw the correlation between spandex and sexuality, but you do you, I guess. So my husband had been shamed into hiding the fact that he was a Power Ranger fan too. So to meet Jason David Frank and see that he was pretty cool, like that helped him come out of that shell. And since then, we've been actually able to watch Power Ranger episodes together. I can cuddle up with my husband, and John and I will watch Mighty Morphin together. He's not so much into the later seasons with the other Power Rangers. He hasn't really quite caught on to that yet. Um, but it's fun that we can watch the Power Ranger movie, we can watch Mighty Morphin together, and recreate the fandom that he had to hide. And it started with that chance meeting, and I get to hang on to that. So to shake his hand and to meet him and hang out for a minute before he had to go to his table, that was really cool. And it's like my main interaction with him, but it's something that I'm going to hang on to. All the Power Ranger actors have been pretty darn cool. Bulk and Skull and Johnny Yong Bosch and Walter Jones were the coolest. Like, I just love them the most. But, like, meeting Jason David Frank was really cool. I don't know what happened elsewhere, but he was very sweet to everybody at Comic-Con. He was sweet when I got to meet him. He was very kind when I made him laugh with my cartoon. So this week really hurts. And yeah. Oh, hey, another jump cut. Yeah, Power Rangers helped me get through a lot of bad stuff. It helped me deal with the bullying situation, with being an outsider because my dad moved me around over and over and over again. It helped me deal with my parents not getting along. I remember an episode where Kimberly was dealing with her mom and dad getting divorced. My mom and dad didn't get divorced until I was 26, but it helped me get prepared for that eventuality because they were oil and water. I lost a lot of my Power Ranger collection surviving a flood, but watching Power Rangers helped me deal with that, helped me move on. Like, you can enjoy the fandom in different ways. And I chose to enjoy it by enjoying the movie, getting lost in the lost episode of Power Rangers, which aired on TV around the same time that I was coping from the flood. So it helped me get through that too. You wouldn't think that about a tokusatsu show, but it really did work. It helped me get through all the moving and get through bad stuff. Like, I used to have some neighbors that were really racist, and they would heckle and threaten my mom because my mom is half black and she's also Native American. And they didn't like that German side much either, something about World War II or whatever. And we had neighbors that would sometimes come to the door looking for me for inappropriate reasons. These were old men, and they thought nothing of shaking their things at me. I was a little girl and didn't need to see that ever, because that's nasty. And, thankfully I never got touched or anything. Don't take it there. But, Power Rangers helped me deal with that too. Power Rangers was a big source of comfort for me as I was growing up. And even when I was a tween and I was supposed to get into lip gloss and crop tops and maybe outgrow childish things, I said, fuck all that noise. And I kept my Mighty Morphin Power Ranger tapes. And I held on to my dolls. And I still enjoyed Power Rangers. And even when I was an adult and hanging around people who were into adult things, even when I was an adult and I was hanging around other adults my own age and older, and they were getting into adult things like alcohol, I still held on to Power Rangers. I still enjoyed Power Rangers. And I'm not really ashamed to talk about that. This was a major part of my childhood that got me through a lot, got me out of a lot of dark stuff. And losing somebody who helped so many people the way we lost him, it's so raw, and it's just gonna be a big pain for a very long time. It's gonna be a long time before any of us can really cope and move forward. One way that I saw some people were coping, they were watching the Super Sentai counterpart when his counterpart Burai dies. They're sort of watching that on Shout TV and on Tubi in place of a memorial or a funeral. I don't think I can do that to myself right now. I'm not in the right headspace, but I know that's one way people are coping. Another way people are coping is they're talking to their fellow Power Ranger fans, and we're all just grieving together. And reaching out is the easiest way to help somebody when they're going through stuff. You know, and if you know somebody else, another Power Ranger fan who's grieving, check on them, reach out, because we're all hurting together today. And if you've got some kids that are Power Ranger fans, but maybe they didn't experience Mighty Morphin, watch some Mighty Morphin with them on Netflix. Watch the movie, because that's a good way to keep the fandom alive. That's a good way to keep his memory alive. If you want to educate a new fan about Jason David Frank, show them some Mighty Morphin stuff, show them some Zeo, show them some Turbo, show them the Turbo episodes that had the bloopers, because he made those bloopers the best. I mean, I would howl with laughter. When Turbo was on, I wouldn't wait for the episodes because they sucked. I would just watch for the bloopers during the end credits, because Jason David Frank was like the funniest one during the bloopers. He would talk back to Alpha 6. That's a great way to remember him. Not going to recommend Dino Thunder, because that's kind of a weird one. If you're into that, good for you. For me, it was just kind of an odd one. Definitely check out the Power Rangers video game on PlayStation 4 and Switch, because he did voice Tommy in that one too, and it's got this really good story that I think helps us cope too. Like, it too goes through like the death of Tommy, but it's not really a real death. Play the video game, play the story mode, and it'll make a lot more sense to you. But it's got a really Tommy heavy story to it, and the ending kind of makes up for a lot of dark stuff. Check out the Power Rangers Battle for the Grid game. It's a good one. So you know, that's how we should cope together. You know, I'm gonna go have a good cry.